WCBI News at 10 starts now.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Cash Matlock. Riots and protests have been happening all across the country since the death of George Floyd. But in Columbus, a local case is bringing people to the picket line. Our Savannah Gato joins us in the studio with more. Savannah?
Cash, the crowds got bigger and bigger as more supporters and friends of Ricky Ball gathered together for their voices to be heard.
They're honest. If you're a murderer, you need to be held accountable. And if you don't hold them accountable, we will.
Well, we're having a protest today. We're getting together because of the madness that's been going on in the city of Columbus.
Columbus leaders, friends, and family members of Ricky Ball gathered at Lee Mall Saturday to have a peaceful protest. They want to know why the Mississippi Attorney General will no longer pursue a manslaughter charge against former Columbus police officer Kenyon Boykin.
Back in 2015, it's so much different things that happened with that, but he shot Ricky Ball, a young African American, in the back while he was, running away. And 5 years later, they just dropped the case with nothing and give the public anything.
City Councilman Pierre Beard is encouraging people to share and show their frustration, but in a constructive way.
If you don't vote in local and statewide elections, then your voices will remain silent. People don't put themselves in office, our votes do. Yes, there are flaws in the system, but you can't bark if you don't want to bite. Secondly, if you want to peacefully protest, please go ahead. However, before you consider destroying property in our city, please consider the local business owners who have fought so hard for their business. Stay encouraged. Better days are coming.
There were no reported incidents at the protest today. We will have Beard's full statement on our website.
All right, thank you, Savannah. Minnesota's governor has fully mobilized his state's National Guard after another night of violent protests over the death of George Floyd. Protests erupted across the country for the fourth night after the Minneapolis man died during a police encounter. Michael George has the latest from Minneapolis.
Volunteers gathered in Minneapolis today to clean up after another night of fires and looting during a protest for George Floyd.
We're going to have to work so hard and together, everyone, to clean this up. I mean, this is just, who knows, this is not even probably the end.
Protesters ignored an 8 p.m. curfew, setting buildings and cars on fire, prompting Governor Tim Walz to activate the state's full National Guard for the first time in Minnesota history.
Last night is a mockery of pretending this is about George Floyd's death.
As the National Guard rolled into Minneapolis, President Trump urged Minnesota officials to get tougher with protesters.
They've got to be tough. They've got to be smart. We have our military ready, willing, and able if they ever want to call our military. But we can have troops on the ground very quickly.
Talking with people on this block, a lot of folks told us they support the protests, but seeing this destruction of their community breaks their hearts.
Everything is gone. If it's not broken or burnt down, it's tagged with graffiti.
Anger over Floyd's death ignited protests in dozens of U.S. cities. Protesters in Atlanta set fires and smashed the windows of the CNN Center, set fire to police vehicles in New York, and police held back an angry mob at the White House. People poured into the streets again today from Philadelphia to Los Angeles.
I need to be out here. I feel like, it's time to take a stand. United we stand, divided we fall.
Officials across the country are bracing for another night of possible violence following a national call for protests. Michael George, CBS News, Minneapolis.
Well, today in Tupelo, dozens gathered to protest the killing of George Floyd. They all came together to stand in solidarity. And like many across the nation, people gathered in Fair Park to protest peacefully. These protesters were not of one race, but many. They all had one message that they were trying to send.
I think it's a really horrible tragedy that we're still having to fight this, and we just want to support as best we can.
WCBI's Tyler Hull is going to have more on the protest tomorrow night. HottyToddy.com reports while hundreds of people stood together on the square in Oxford calling for solidarity, peace, and an end to racism this evening. The Confederate statue on the University of Mississippi campus was vandalized. Spray painted in black were the words "spiritual genocide" on each side of the statue, accompanied by red handprints. The vandalism is suspected of occurring during the time the rally was being held, which was around 5 p.m. Local news media have reported that someone was taken into custody by the University Police Department. However, no one could be reached for comment at UPD this evening to confirm an arrest has been made. Now, university employees covered up the damage with a drop cloth at about 7:15 p.m. and the peaceful protest on the square was in response to the death of Minneapolis man George Floyd.
Temperatures across the area at the 10 o'clock hour already down into the 60s for most of us. We're 64 in Starkville, still 67 at the Air Force Base, but I think we're going to quickly cool down here in the next hour or two, down into the 50s. As a matter of fact, overnight tonight, we're going to be at 58 for the low in Columbus, 59 in Tupelo. We'll stay in the 60s up to the north and the west. Generally, though, everybody going to be down into the mid and upper 50s for lows tonight. Clear skies going to continue. And that lower humidity going to help things to feel very comfortable through the evening tonight if you're going to be out and about. Tomorrow, much of the same, 84 for the high, low humidity, very comfortable with a light northerly wind, 5 to 15 miles an hour under plenty of blue sky and sunshine. We've got a few days to wait until our next rain chance, but we could have some pop-up storms by the end of the week. I've got your full forecast in just a bit, Cash.
All right, thank you, Trevor. Well, protests continue to pop up all across the state. A large group gathered Friday at the state capitol to show support for George Floyd's family and denounce police violence. Courtney Ann Jackson has the story.
No justice, no peace, no racist police.
What happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis transcends any headlines for many of those who rallied outside the Mississippi State Capitol.
We're fighting for our lives every single day. I have to get up and make sure what I put on. I have to know, is it too dark, is it too bright? I have to always look back. You know, the other night I had to hold my girlfriend and she cried because she was scared of me leaving the house because of what's going on.
Michael Barber says he can only hope his children won't have those same experiences. But that's another reason he didn't want to sit on the sidelines and not speak out against racism and police brutality.
I'm lucky I turned 22. In the black community, it is a blessing to turn 21. When we reach 25, that is a milestone. Not graduating college, not getting your license or anything. Turning an age is a milestone. It's not even really a tradition in our culture.
We the people demand the death of racism and the rebirth of liberty.
Others echoed the idea that Mississippi's history makes peaceful protests like this imperative.
Racism has been a big part of Mississippi's history for a very long time. I think it was very important for us to be here today and to put Mississippi into the fight for justice and liberty for its people.
The group did march through downtown Jackson after leaving the state capitol. When asked about the protest, Governor Tate Reeves said this.
I fully support everyone's individual right to protest their government, to protest government decisions, as long as they do so in a peaceful manner. That is a constitutional right that is one of the very foundations of our country.
Courtney Ann Jackson, WCBI News.
A Caledonia woman is dead after losing control of her vehicle and hitting a tree in Monroe County. Coroner Alan Gurley says 35-year-old Angela Spratlin was driving a 2011 GMC pickup and traveling west on Lackey Road around 7:30 Friday night when she lost control in a curve. Spratlin was airlifted to NMMC Tupelo, where she later died. Gurley says she died from multiple points of trauma. He also said Spratlin was not wearing a seatbelt. The Monroe County Sheriff's Department is investigating the incident. As coronavirus numbers continue to climb, locals are doing what they can to help make face coverings more accessible. Find out how after the break. Stay with us.
WCBI News at 10 p.m. with Cash Matlock.
Welcome back, everyone. The Mississippi Department of Health reports 439 new cases of COVID-19 with 13 new deaths. There are currently 137 active outbreaks within the state. 430 people are hospitalized with coronavirus. There have been more than 1,500 total cases in Mississippi since March 11th, with 723 total deaths. More than 9,400 people are presumed to have recovered from the virus. The coronavirus hotline is the best way to get your questions about COVID-19 answered. You can call 877-978-6453 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Well, the death toll from the coronavirus has now topped 102,000 in this country. There have been more than 1.7 million known cases in the U.S. We've learned some popular Florida tourist destinations, such as Universal Orlando, plan to start reopening its hotels as soon as Tuesday. At the same time, the economy witnessed a nearly 14% drop in consumer spending last month. Tom Hansen has more from New York.
New York's reopening is not without limits. In select upstate regions, offices and hair salons will reopen, but
it's not just open the doors and everybody has a party. It's 50% occupancy in office buildings.
Governor Andrew Cuomo will also let business owners deny entry to anyone not wearing a mask.
That store owner has a right to protect themselves.
Still shut down, New York City is expected to start the first phase of reopening next week.
We're going to be providing face coverings for free for all businesses that need them.
The city's 27,000 restaurants, though, will stay closed. Angelina Malerba owns Angelina's Ristorante.
Give us a little something to start with. You don't give us anything. We don't know June, July, August, when.
With cases on the rise in Los Angeles, barbershops, hair salons, and restaurants can now do business. In Northern California, where the impact of the virus was significantly lower, graduations along with mall shopping are taking place in parking lots.
Also, it's good if you do want your things right away, same day or the next day, so you don't have to wait for it to be shipped.
Even the Grand Canyon opened up to sightseers on its popular South Rim. At the White House, Coronavirus Task Force Coordinator Dr. Deborah Birx touted progress Friday to business leaders.
New hospitalizations are down month over month by 50%. Mortality, the fatalities that we all grieve, are down significantly week over week.
Though in real numbers, there were more than 139,817 new confirmed cases and 6,000 new deaths this week. And 24 states reported increases in their average new COVID-19 cases compared to 2 weeks ago. Alabama had more than 5,000 new positive cases in the 14-day period ending Thursday. And meat processors continue to report bad news. A Tyson pork plant in Iowa became the latest to halt operations. More than 500 of its 2,500 workers tested positive.
They pretty much feel that this is a death walk into a facility, that they may get the virus, they may die, they may bring it home with them.
Back here locally, if you need face coverings and live in Montgomery County, today was your day to get them. Community members, the fire department, even the mayor's grandchildren were out lending a helping hand to those in need and handing out free masks. As the number of cases of COVID-19 rises, the state is helping combat the virus.
You're welcome. With the assistance of the state of Mississippi and MEMA, we've gotten 6,000 face masks and we're giving them out.
If you do need any, feel free. If you didn't make it today, feel free to call me at 662-283-4105 and leave a message on the answer machine, and I will call you back and we'll schedule a time to be able to give you some more masks.
For more information, you can visit our website, WCBI.com.
Nice and quiet right now in Starkville, but we do have to talk about the chance for some isolated pop-up storms through the end of the week. I've got your full first alert forecast coming up after this. Stay with us.
WCBI First Alert AccuWeather Forecast with meteorologist Trevor Burchett.
We've had a stretch of nice weather here for the last couple of days. Great weather today with a little bit of a breeze, lower humidity, and plenty of sunshine. That trend's going to continue tomorrow, so if you haven't got the chance to get that yard work done or spend some time in the pool, tomorrow, a really nice day to do it because temperatures are going to increase into next week. 88 for Monday. We'll be in the 90s by Tuesday, and it's going to be even warmer from there. And humidity is also going to be on the rise, and that extra moisture is going to help to increase the chances for some pop-up showers and storms. Out there right now, we're all dry and temperatures are falling down into the 60s. We're 67 in Columbus right now, 69 for our friends up in Tupelo, 66 in Vernon and Fayette, Alabama. Generally everybody in the mid 60s right now. But the dew point being a little lower is helping things to feel really comfortable out there. Typically this time of year, we see dew points in the 70s. That helps to make it feel very muggy as you're stepping outside. But dew points right now in the 50s and 60s, so it's very quiet, very comfortable as you're stepping outside, and these lower dew point values will continue through the day on Sunday. Here's the time lapse from Louisville today. Mostly blue sky. We did have a few cumulus clouds trying to pop up, but they just really couldn't get going. So that helped us to stay mostly sunny, and that also inhibited any type of rain showers from developing. So we stayed dry and mostly sunny. And as I mentioned, with that light northerly wind and lower humidity, it felt really, really nice out there. I want to take you down to the tropics here for just a little bit. I've been telling you for the last couple of days, we're monitoring this disturbance here in the Bay of Campeche, west of the Yucatan Peninsula. And all indications are that this could become a little bit of something down in the Gulf. The National Hurricane Center actually has this now at a 20% chance of developing into a tropical system in the next 5 days. But after that is when we really are going to start to look for some development. You see that little area of spin there. Some models have this going into Texas. Some models have it going into more of Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. Wherever it ends up, we will have to monitor for the potential for some heavy rainfall and, of course, maybe even more depending on how strong it gets. Of course, way too far out for that now. We just want to give you the heads up that we are monitoring some trouble down in the Gulf of Mexico. Again, no really weather to worry about across much of the United States. Most of the precip has been off in the west. Actually, some severe weather up in the Pacific Northwest today. None of that to worry about here, though. 58 for the low, mostly clear and quiet with a light northerly wind tonight. Tomorrow, much of the same as today. We're looking at highs in the mid to low 80s across the board. Plenty of sunshine, maybe a few more clouds out there. I think most of us stay mostly sunny, though. We'll hit 84 in Starkville, 85 in Macon, and 82 for our friends up in Pontotoc. We've been talking about this comfortable air sticking around. Unfortunately, it's not going to stick around for much longer, though. Take a look at the comfort index. We're low, off the chart on Monday. We're so comfortable, and then we go into that more humid and muggy air as we get into the middle of the week. And as I mentioned, we're going to be dry here for the next several days, but toward the middle and end of the week, we're going to have to talk about the chance for some isolated pop-up showers and storms as temperatures rise back into the low 90s by the end of the week.
Residents in Petal, Mississippi are calling for the mayor to resign after a controversial post on social media. More on this story after the break. In Petal, Mississippi, protesters call for the resignation of Mayor Hal Marks. The protest comes after the mayor posted controversial statements about the death of George Floyd on his social media pages. He says his remarks were misconstrued as racist and that he wanted people to see all of the facts before judging police. Last night, Marks resisted calls to resign by the Board of Aldermen. Jesse Fenver of CBS affiliate WJTV has more.
The protests here at Petal City Hall were well organized and peaceful, but the protesters' anger and frustration, that was palpable. The protest today in Petal was peaceful, yet sharp with anger and frustration.
Mayor Marks' comments were hurtful to a lot of people.
The comments he's referring to were social media posts made by the mayor earlier in the week, saying in part, quote, "If you can talk, you can breathe." Today, protesters shared their thoughts on the mayor's remarks.
You're in a certain position. You can't make certain comments. If you represent the people, you have to represent all the people. My biggest thing was that his comment was voluntary. Nobody asked him for his opinion. So for you to volunteer how you really feel, you know, that bothered me.
Justice. I need him to resign, and I think everybody else wants him to resign.
His remarks are unacceptable in this time, or really in any time.
And this morning we reached out to Mayor Hal Marks and asked for a comment on the protests and if he wanted to clarify his statements once again, and he said no comment.
History in the making. More on the SpaceX rocket launch when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. NASA and Elon Musk's SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket lifted off this afternoon, beginning a new era of commercial spaceflight from the historic Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The mission is the first from the U.S. with NASA astronauts in nearly a decade. CBS News correspondent Skylar Henry is at the Kennedy Space Center.
Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed.
The manned SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launch Saturday from the Kennedy Space Center opened a new frontier in space travel. It's the first time a private company, Elon Musk's SpaceX, has launched astronauts in a commercially built spacecraft. Two veteran astronauts, Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, are on a 19-hour trip to the International Space Station.
It is a real treat to watch a U.S. rocket take off from U.S. soil
with NASA astronauts on board. It's a great feeling.
Weather conditions cleared as liftoff approached during the afternoon. A first attempt was scrubbed Wednesday due to threat of lightning. President Trump and Vice President Pence viewed the departure from the Space Center in Florida.
You feel the shake over here. It's pretty amazing. A beautiful sight, a beautiful ship, too.
Spectators lined up in nearby towns for front and center views. NASA had asked people to watch from home because of the coronavirus pandemic. The space agency retired the space shuttles in 2011. Since then, it has paid the Russian space agency to ferry U.S. astronauts to and from the International Space Station. Skylar Henry, CBS News at the Kennedy Space Center.
The astronauts are expected to dock at the space station at 10:27 Eastern Time on Sunday. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Trevor is going to have a final look at weather.
Mostly sunny and comfortable again for your Sunday. Highs in the mid-80s. We do warm up, though, through the middle of the week. Humidity also on the rise. Temperatures back into the low 90s by the middle of the week.
All right, thanks, Trevor. Thank you for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.